have heard a recording of your own voice, and your very first thought was simple. That's not me. It is too high, too thin, too nasal. Nothing like the voice you hear when you speak. You probably winced. Maybe you laughed it off. Maybe you have quietly avoided listening to voicemails of yourself ever since. So why does your own voice sound so wrong to you when it sounds perfectly normal to everyone else? Here is the part that should unsettle you. The voice on that recording is not the fake. It is the real one. The voice you have heard inside your own head every single day of your life is the illusion, and almost nobody ever realizes it.
To understand why, you have to follow the sound. When anyone speaks, including you, the sound has to travel to a tiny coiled organ buried deep inside your ear called the cochlea. That is the place where vibrations get turned into the signal your brain reads as sound. For every voice on Earth, except one, the sound reaches your cochlea by a single route. It leaves the speaker's mouth, travels through the open air, slips into your ear canal, and rattles your eardrum. This is called air conduction. It is how you hear everything. The traffic outside, a song, a friend talking across the table.
But your own voice is different. When you speak, the sound does not only leave your mouth and curl back to your ears through the air, it also takes a hidden shortcut. The vibrations from your vocal cords travel directly through the bones and soft tissues of your skull, straight to your cochlea, without ever touching the air at all. This is called bone conduction, and it quietly changes everything you think you sound like.
Here is the key detail. Bone does not carry sound the way air does. Your skull is far better at transmitting low frequencies, the deep bass tones, than high ones. So as your voice rumbles through your head, those low, rich, warm frequencies get carried along and boosted, while the thinner, higher tones never get the same lift. The result is a voice that sounds deeper, fuller, and more resonant than it truly is. That is the voice in your head, a custom mix with the bass turned up, played for an audience of exactly one, you.
There's a famous story that makes this real. Beethoven, after he began to lose his hearing, would clench a metal rod in his teeth and press the other end against his piano. Through that rod, the vibrations traveled up his jaw and into his skull, letting him feel the music when his ears no longer could. He was using bone conduction on purpose. You have been using it your whole life without knowing. So what happens the moment you hear a recording? A microphone has no skull. It captures only the air-conducted version of your voice, the one stripped of all that bonus bass your bones were secretly adding. For the first time, you are hearing yourself the way physics actually sends you into the world. Thinner, higher, a little sharper, exactly the way every other human being has always heard you.
Sit with that for a moment. The voice you have spent your entire life listening to does not exist anywhere outside your own head. Every person you have ever spoken to has only ever heard the recording. But this raises a strange question. If the recorded voice is the accurate one, the true one, why does it bother you so much? It does not actually sound bad. To everyone else, it simply sounds like you. So where does the cringe come from?
Scientists noticed this discomfort decades ago, and they even gave it a name: voice confrontation. Back in the 1960s, two researchers named Phil Holzman and Clyde Rousey ran a series of experiments where people listened to recordings of themselves, and they found something remarkably consistent. People did not just notice that their recorded voice sounded unfamiliar, they actively disliked it. And it was about more than pitch. Holzman and Rousey suggested that a recording also exposes things a person normally cannot hear in themselves: tiny hesitations, traces of anxiety, emotional tones leaking out beneath the words, little signals of who you are that you never meant to broadcast. The recording does not just sound different, it reveals. Now here is the twist that turns the whole thing upside down. If the real problem were simply the sound of your voice, then you would dislike it no matter what. but you don't. A researcher named Susan Hughes ran a clever study to test this. She recorded people's voices, then played a whole batch of voice clips back to them and asked them to rate how attractive each one sounded. Hidden somewhere in that batch was each person's own voice. And here is what happened. The people who failed to recognize their own voice often rated it as more attractive than the others in the set. They liked it. They genuinely liked it. They simply did not know it was them.
Read that again, because it changes everything. When you remove the knowledge that the voice is yours, your real voice sounds perfectly good, sometimes better than good, which means the cringe was never truly about the sound at all. It is about the collision between the voice you expected and the voice that actually came out. Your brain holds a lifelong recording of what you are supposed to sound like, the warm, bass-boosted inner version. And when the real one arrives, it does not match. That mismatch is the discomfort, not ugliness, surprise, the startle of expecting one face in the mirror and finding another. A voice researcher named Rebecca Kleinberger, who studies how deeply people are connected to their own voices, points to something stranger still underneath all of this. Your voice is not just a sound that comes out of you. It is one of the most personal pieces of your identity. It is how you announce who you are to the world, and it is wired tightly into your sense of self. So when you hear a version of it that feels foreign, it is not only your ears that object. Some part of your identity flinches because it feels like a stranger is wearing your name. And that is the quietly unsettling truth sitting at the center of all this.
There is a version of you that everyone in your life knows intimately, and you have never once met. Your parents have heard it since the day you were born. Your closest friends could pick it out of a crowded, noisy room with their eyes closed. It lives on every message you have ever left, in every conversation you have ever had, in the memory of everyone who has ever loved you, or argued with you, or fallen for you. And you have spent your whole life listening to a private remix that no one else will ever hear, while the real instrument played out loud for everyone but you. When you really think about it, you may be the only person on the entire planet who does not actually know what you sound like.
So that voicemail you cannot stand to play back is not a distortion of you. It is a correction. For a few seconds, the bass drops away, the lifelong illusion lifts, and you finally come face to face with the voice that has been speaking on your behalf since you learned to talk. Of course it feels like a stranger. The two of you have never actually been introduced. And if any of this stings, here is something worth holding on to. The more you hear your recorded voice, the less wrong it starts to sound. Singers, podcasters, anyone who spends time listening back to themselves slowly stops flinching. Their voice has not changed at all. Their brain has simply updated its expectation, quietly rewriting the version it holds inside, until the recording and the memory finally line up. The mismatch fades. The stranger becomes familiar. In a strange way, you can finally learn what you sound like. So the next time you hear yourself played back, and your first thought is, "That's not me," stop, because it is. That voice was never the stranger. The stranger is the one in your head. And the one on the recording, the thinner one, the sharper one, the realer one, is simply you, at long last, hearing yourself the way the whole world always has.